Welcome back everybody to this week's video. This week we have something very rare, a real treat on the channel, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, the first Italian car on my channel in 5 years of this going on. And here it is, the Lancia Fulvia. I've got the owner Julian and myself in British summertime in the rain, and we're going to do what we normally do, talk about the car and then take it out on some of our favourite roads. Welcome to this week's Fast and Fun. So Julian, what's the car? Tell me about the car.
1971 Lancia Fulvia 1.3S is how it started life.
Right.
Okay, it's now been built to HF specification.
Yep.
Aluminium bonnets, aluminium doors, boot, plexiglass.
And HF, I did a bit of research, high fidelity?
High fidelity, yeah.
Was that a Lancia club or something?
It was just, I don't know, to be honest, I think the Italians, being Italian, just thought...
It sounds nice.
It sounds good.
Okay, cool.
So it's a lightweight car with the magnesium wheels, built to the specification of the 1971 Daily Mirror RAC Rally, of which I was a 9-year-old child.
Yes.
And Jolly Club GB, which you can see on the car.
What's the Jolly Club to start off with?
The Jolly Club, Richard, was a private team that was set up in 1957, owned by an Italian family, the Angelini family,
right,
who had a chain of hotels called the Jolly Hotels.
Okay.
They were petrol heads back then, and they wanted to get into motorsport. And by the time the Lancia Fulvia came out, that was it. They were big into rallying, and they wanted to take on the works cars from Torino. Jolly Club was based in Milano.
Oh, so a bit of Milan.
Exactly, a bit like football.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So the Italians being very passionate, you know. So all the Jolly Club cars were on the Milano black plates, which we have in the car.
Yes.
And the factory cars were on the Torino plates. The works cars had a huge amount of success because this particular Fulvia Coupe rally cars was their first WRC rally car that took on everything back in the day.
And remember the Fulvia front engine, front wheel drive.
Exactly, front engine, front wheel drive, narrow angle V4 twin cam with a 5-speed dogleg gearbox.
Got you.
Which 5-speed was back in 1970. Was
unheard of, really.
Yeah, unless you were driving a Ferrari or a Maserati or a Di Tommaso. You know, 5-speed wasn't available in your Mark 1 Ford Escort or etc. etc.
So, and why dogleg? Is that because they were making more changes between second and third? Easier?
Once you've gone from first, you're straight up into second, third. You've got a quick change, second, third, four, five.
That's it.
It's a real quick change.
Yeah, because you're just not going to use first. That's why it's the dogleg.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Julian, how long have you owned this then? You said two years?
Okay, I've had this car almost 2 years.
Yes.
It's my second Lancia Fulvia. Okay.
Was the first one a coupe as well?
The first one was a 1600 HF Series 2 Lusso car, which I had from 1982 until 2014.
Wow.
Yeah, long-term ownership.
So why did you sell that for?
Moment of madness.
I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot, Julian.
Working overseas, moment of madness.
Yes.
And came back to the UK just over 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And decided I needed another one in my life.
Yeah.
And then it took me until 2022 when this one came available. It had been in France in probate since 2019.
Yeah.
It had been long-term ownership by a British guy in France who sprinted it and what have you.
Yeah.
I then got it brought over with a good friend of mine who did the deal.
Yes.
Fulvia Classics.
Yes.
Who brought the car over. And I've used it every weekend since I've had it, in all weather, snow, whatever. That's
really good, because the worry about cars like this is they just get squirreled away. And I did say to Julian, actually, yesterday, about weather forecast not great, and even though it's July in the UK and rain is forecast, and this gets driven. This absolutely gets driven. Rain is not going to stop this video happening, which is a chapeau to yourself, really.
Absolutely, Richard. It's well used, but well loved.
Yes, absolutely.
It is pampered. I mean, it's hill climbed, it's sprinted. I drive it as it's supposed to be driven.
Yeah,
you know?
great.
It's a tribute to my late father, who was the team principal of Jolly Club GB from 1968 to 1973, that looked after the cars here in the UK, preparing them and sourcing them and putting them out for competition. So it's in my blood.
Two to what is now called Rally GB, but the RAC Rally.
RAC, it was back then it was the Daily Mirror RAC International Rally, as on the car, of Great Britain. And it was a 5-day event, night and day, that covered the whole of the UK. And where we are stood right now, 54 years ago, there would have been probably 15 or 16 of these cars
racing
going around through the forest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Making a lot of noise. You could smell the Castrol R.
Yeah.
People would be out there, families and what have you, all in the freezing cold, watching these beautiful cars. Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. The Fulvia did come in 3 variants. It came in this, the two-door coupe. There was a saloon, 4-door saloon.
Absolutely.
And there was the fastback, hatchback, Zagato as well. But I do love, and we've talked about this, and this is not just because Julian's here today. I do think the two-door coupe looks fantastic.
It's a pretty car.
Absolutely.
The lines,
absolutely.
You know, we don't build things sadly like this anymore.
No, not at all. And this stops people, doesn't it? Because we were on an event where we met probably a few weeks ago, and this people stop and stare at this car and I think the livery that you've put on it, that you've done yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely in keeping. And it's a fabulous looking car. The interesting thing on these, relatively small engined, front wheel drive, but they were at the time in the 60s and 70s more expensive than the Jaguar E-Types.
By 1973, this cost more than the 5.3 litre V12 E-Type Jaguar, which is hard to believe.
You can't believe that, can you?
But, you know, it was over-engineered.
Yes.
And, you know, when you think it came from the factory with Girling 4-pot calipers on the front, twin pots on the rear, aluminium body panels.
Just to keep that weight down, make it stop really well. Weight-wise, Julian, what's the weight on this?
840 kg. It's a lightweight car.
I can't get over the weight of that. That is astonishingly low.
Yeah, because cars, even back then, they weren't heavy cars, but, you know, because they didn't have airbags and ABS and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But they were a lot heavier than this.
Wow. Right, what we're going to do is I want to take a quick walk around the car. We'll pick out some key features before we take it out on the road.
Okay.
Well, look, this car is absolutely stunning. It really is. It stands out, and I hope this is coming through on the video. If you look at the front of the car, the spotlights, Julian?
Yeah, 1971 Cibi Super Oscars, 9-inch.
Were they on when you bought the car? Or
no, I've done that myself.
Okay.
The brackets are modified Mark I Ford Escort.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Alloy brackets.
Yes.
Which fit the car superbly. It's also sporting a Mille membership on the front grille.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, got that. Yeah.
Club Mille.
Yeah, but that is... It's too modern for the...
It's 57 is the cut-off.
That's it, yeah, okay. Yeah.
However, you can always jump onto the Mille.
Yeah, the back and just follow the trail.
Yeah. Quick release bonnet.
Had you done these or was this on the car?
That was on the car when I got it.
Okay.
But I had identical ones on my first one.
Yes.
Purely because being a semi-competition car, you don't want the bonnet coming flying open.
Absolutely.
Especially being aluminium.
Yeah. And you can hear that when Julian taps it. The air vents, what's that for?
That is actually for the heating, cooling. You know,
for the cabin.
For the cabin,
for the cabin, not for engine cooling.
No, not for engine cooling. That is for
no hidden turbocharger anywhere then.
No, just for your heating, so you can get cold air come into the cabin. But being Italian, it's not as functional as it looks.
Yeah. that's part of the ownership experience. Are these standard coloured gold alloys or not?
The gold is what the works cars had.
Okay.
And to be honest, it suits the car beautifully.
It does.
The gold with the red. They're 14-inch chromodoras, magnesium, very light. Very light.
Yes. Yeah. And these extensions, if you look down the side of the car, yes.
Yeah, the extensions are the works extensions. These are Group 3, which is the Group 4 ones would be about out here.
Wow.
They'd be a bit wider. But these are the Group 3 ones, which suit the car beautifully.
It does. It just gives it a little bit more of an aggressive look,
Absolutely.
I suppose.
It just, when I put the car together, that's how we wanted it to be.
And was it standard just to have one?
They always had one mirror.
Yeah.
But the history on this mirror was on my very first car back in 1982.
Right.
My first 1600 HF had that very mirror, and the car was sold in 2014.
Yes.
And then I kept in touch with the guy that owns the car down in Surrey, and I noticed on a photo he'd removed the mirror. So I just messaged him and I said, "Have you still got the mirror?" He goes, "Yes, would you like it?" And he posted it back to me.
So you have got, that's the only thing that remains of your car that you regretted selling?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've got my original mirror back that my identical twin brother refitted at Christmas last year.
Fantastic, absolutely brilliant.
I like a bit of history.
Yeah, fantastic. If we go around the back here, so the exhaust on this, Julian?
Group 4.
Okay.
So on the 1.3 standard cars from the factory, it was more like a pea shooter.
Yeah.
So this
right.
is 2.25 inch
yes.
Group 4 rear silencer, so a bit more noise.
Yeah.
And just adds to the aesthetics of the car.
Be interesting to see how this sounds. And although this is a 1300, you have badged it 1600.
I have indeed. It's basically been built to HF specification.
Yes.
You know,
it's just got the 1300, not the 1600.
It's got a tuned 1300.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Shall we have a look inside? You've got the plates, haven't you?
I have
the original.
Indeed. That's the original plate from the 1971 Daily Mirror RAC Rally Jolly Club GB car.
Brilliant.
That's original. Still got mud from Kielder Forest and the Forest of Dean on the back.
That's absolutely fantastic. And it's that history. It's that. And you've shown a pack as well. I take it there's a whole history behind this car, and for me, that's what makes these cars so special as well. At this age.
Yeah, it's having the history in my family. The car was prepared over in France by my identical twin brother, Woodrim Cars. He's not French, but we call him Philippe because he's lived there for 6 years now.
Right.
So he prepared the car. Another little bit of history. For those that are in Gloucestershire and remember City Speed, these are original decals from 1980.
Wow.
Yeah. There's no one in the telephone number. Original.
Fantastic. So where did you find this?
This was given. These and the one on the rear window were given to me by a good friend of mine in the motor club, who has so much stuff, and he's now very old, and he just said, "Julian, they've got to go on your car," and I was happy to have them.
Fantastic. Let's have a quick look in the inside the car. So the Fulvia, and it's just, I suppose, in that period really. So gearbox we've already talked about. It's a 5-speed dogleg first gearbox. That wooden dash. What does it rev up to?
7,000.
Wow. And it's got these, and you've fitted these, or was this from the previous owner?
Yeah, previous owner put the Sparcos in. Yeah. Which are not really sort of period with the car, but they do the job.
Yes, okay.
For the sort of stuff I do, you need them.
Yes. And shall we have a quick look at the engine? Because the engine's absolutely fascinating to see. And you can see how... is it Perspex?
Plexiglass.
Plexiglass, look at that.
No
Fantastic.
security.
Fantastic.
But very light.
And have a look here. Now, the first thing is, when you look at the engine itself, is the angle that it's at.
Absolutely.
So it's just tilted, and if I look at this angle, you can see, I don't know, is it 45 degrees? It's almost.
Yeah.
And it's a very narrow angle V4, and you can see that.
You can
with
see
the
firing order. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very absolutely. Twin camshafts.
Yeah.
Weber 40s.
Yes.
In a very nice specification.
And that must give it some really nice raspy induction noise, I'm expecting. We'll hear that.
You will hear the noise. It really is.
And just look at the positioning of the radiator as well. It's as though, again, the Italians have gone, well, we've got to get this in. We'll put it at an angle to squeeze it in with the gearbox at the bottom. Well, where's the radiator going to go? Well, it can't go here. We'll just squeeze it in at the side somewhere. Fabulous.
Italian engineering.
Absolutely. Right. Let's shut the bonnet, let's get in the car, and let's take this for a drive.